Okay, recording is on. Yep, this means hi and welcome everyone to the next episode of the Keptn Dev meeting. Like always, this is Keptn is a CNCF project, and this means that we follow the code of conduct, and this means that also that we talk nice to each other and be friendly. Then today is a meeting where the Keptn core team is presenting the features that have been implemented in the last 2 weeks. And as I see, there's quite a long list that we have to or will see today, and we should go to them as sooner than later. But before talking about the issues and features that have been implemented, I just want to mention that the 2 action items on setting up the spell checker in the Keptn github.io repo, which contains the documentation of Keptn, is in progress. And the same is true for the tutorials. There are 2 pull requests open to add the spell checker to the repo, as it makes sense to have it there, since there's quite a lot of content in written documents, and doing their spell check is definitely worth getting it done. Right, and as I know, also Josh is helping out to get the pull request merged, since there are a couple of questions open. All right. Our content and community manager, Jürgen, is not here today, and he told me that there were no blog posts released this week and no tutorials added. This means that we can jump to the issues that have been implemented in the last 2 weeks. I will go first, because in this sprint, I sat together with Airman, Klaus, and Elizabeth to talk about the new way of implementing the service screen. Because let me just open the service screen as it is right now. Right now, you can go to the service screen, you have the chance to select the service you're interested in, and then you find, we call them the root events that kick off a sequence. And you will find them here stacked, the newest one on the top. And when you click on the root event, then you will see how this particular delivery was executed. In this case, it went from a dev through a staging, production, and finally to a prod customer A environment. And there I have currently an approval open. This is what you know, but we were thinking of changing this view and also to bring more focus on which deployments are released and how is actually my service behaving, or in which healthy state is it currently. And therefore, we worked on this issue. This one was in the current sprint, so to say. But let me show you the result that we came up with. And this one is written down here in this enhancement proposal. It's the service screen revamp. And on the top, you find the motivation, the user stories, as well as the use cases. But let me show you the mockups, because first we think that we should use the environment screen to answer the question, how is my service behaving and what's the health status of this service in general? And therefore we envision to add a filter mechanism here that allows me to filter this screen based on a service. In my case, I selected the card service, and what I can see now is the different deployments of this card service in the different environment or stages. Here we can see there is a quite new one, 0.11.1. The same is true for a dev environment and another dev environment. There we have 0.12. But when we take a look into the production environments, there are older deployments which have a version number of 0.9.11. In overall, you get an overview of how is my service distributed across the environment and how is the quality status. And when you're then interested in one particular deployment, we think that it would make sense to click on this service then. And When you click on that, you will then open up the service screen, where you get the version pre-selected. And here you will then get more information a bit about this version, about this deployment, like all the labels that have been added as this version went through the delivery process. Then here you can also see um, the way this deployment made through the environment. It was in a dev, in a staging and production environment, and is currently running in production A and B. And that this service is running, we indicate by filling this bubble. Whenever this bubble is filled, then we want to show you that it's running there. In case it's not, then this means another, maybe a newer version is has replaced this particular deployment. Then you also get the score of the evaluation in this bubble. And in case the deployment is currently running in this stage, we also show the icon which we use to link the deployment URL so that you can directly open up the endpoint of this deployment. And when you click on one particular stage, then you will get the evaluation in this stage, as you are used to understand more about the quality and whether it's decreasing or increasing. And yeah, you should then fix problems or everything is on the safe side. As you can see here on the left, we also reduced this list to all deployments that are currently running and not the entire history. We just want to focus on what you get right now and not what has been executed. All right, this is what we came up with. I also posted this Keptn enhancement proposal today in the Slack channel. When you have comments, feedback, or additional thoughts, please tell us your ideas so that we can then incorporate those into working on when we are working on the implementation. And I also want to use this stage and ask for feedback right now. What do you has someone an idea we should consider? All right, that's currently not the case. Then, as I mentioned, feel free to post your thoughts in the Slack channel so that you can also contribute in driving this screen to the next level. All right, yeah, this is what I wanted to present today. This means I will now hand over to Florian.
All right, thank you. Just a moment. Okay, in this sprint, I had enough opportunity to practice my Helm chart building skills. So quite Helm heavy, the sprint for me. So what was the first issue? The first one was to delete the Helm service and JMeter service from our continuous delivery Helm chart. That is because actually in the last release, we already included separate charts for the Helm service and also for the JMeter service that are delivered together with the core installer chart as a release artifact. And that meant that we had to maintain the deployment configuration for the Helm and the JMeter service at two different places, which is never a good thing. So in this issue, the main task was to remove those two services from the Keptn core installer chart. And what was then also necessary because of that is to adapt the install command of the Keptn CLI, because now it checks whether you have selected the continuous delivery use case during the installation. And if yes, it first of all, it installs the Keptn core installer charts. But then if you have selected this use case, it will also apply both the JMeter and the Helm service chart. And yeah, as you can tell, the code for the install command has gotten a little bit more complex, and also for the upgrade command, of course. And therefore, I also took the opportunity to do some refactoring of the install command, because previously it was quite hard to unit test, because the component that downloads the Helm charts and applies them was initialized within the function, which was annoying to test. And therefore, I have now install command handler, which has the opportunity to inject the basically 3 different interfaces, or implementation of interfaces. One that is responsible for doing the Helm operations during the installation. Then the other checks whether the namespace for the Keptn installation exists, and if not, creates it. And then one for the user input, because we also have an interactive component in the install command. And by injecting those fields into the install command handler, it was then easier to do some unit testing. And there I've added several cases. So for example, the first one is install command for the continuous delivery use case. And in that case, basically I check whether the download function for the Helm and the JMeter service charts have been invoked, and also if they have been applied by the installer using the upgrade chart function. And also for the other case, if only the control plane should be installed, I check the opposite. So in that case, the upgrade chart function for the JMeter and the Helm service should not be called. All right. Are there any questions about that?
Yes. So I would be interested in what's remaining in the delivery Helm chart, or is it completely gone?
It's almost gone. I think there's only a configuration map missing or left.
Can we have a quick look which configuration map it is?
We absolutely can. Yeah, it's the ingress config map that is being used by the Helm service. Maybe we can move that into core as well, even though it is a config map that is only used by the continuous delivery components. Yeah, maybe we can have a follow-up discussion on that.
Sure, thank you.
All right.
So are these Helm charts applicable with or deployable with the scaffold from the local machine?
They are, yeah.
They are? Okay.
Yeah. I've tried it out and it seemed to work. Previously, before this PR was merged, we had the problem that if you installed the continuous delivery use case, then the JMeter service, for example, was part of the Keptn release, or the Keptn Helm release. And then if you wanted to deploy that service using scaffold with the Helm chart in of that service, you ran into a conflict where it told you that you tried to deploy a resource that is already maintained by the Keptn release. And in that case, we don't have that problem anymore, because now those services are never a part of the Keptn Helm release anymore. So we shouldn't have any conflicts here anymore.
Okay.
One further question. So let's assume we have a customer who has installed 0.81, including the continuous delivery Helm chart. And then he is doing an upgrade. So that means first the Gmeter service will be deinstalled, right? And then again installed.
Exactly. So when doing the upgrade command, the upgrader will now check first if those two services have been installed previously, and then does the upgrade, which in turn leads to them being deleted because they are not part of the core Keptn release anymore. But since it checked previously if they've been installed, it will afterwards apply their Helm charts to make sure they still are present in the cluster after the upgrade.
Perfect. So that actually would mean that we could simplify the structure of our Helm charts. So we do not have to differentiate between a control plane Helm chart and the delivery Helm chart, because the delivery Helm chart will be gone. So currently we have subcharts in our overall chart, and we could get rid of this.
Exactly, yeah. So
okay, cool.
By either moving the ingress config map into the core chart or to the Helm service chart.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, then if there are no further questions about that issue, I will continue with the next one. So that was building a Helm chart for the Dynatrace SLI service. So let's have a look at the issue. Yeah, basically pretty straightforward. So up until now, we deployed the Dynatrace SLI service using a simple Kubernetes manifest, and that has now been replaced with a Helm chart, which will also make it easier once the core supports the Dynatrace SLI service to be run as a remote execution plane service to configure the values required for setting that up via the Helm chart values. All right, so the Kubernetes manifests have been replaced, and also what was necessary here as well is to create a GitHub action that creates a release draft and uploads the Helm chart as an artifact for that release. So we don't have to do that manually, and this can be triggered here under the actions, and then you select run workflow, select with which branch you want to base it on, and then afterwards the release draft will be present and with the Helm chart applied or added as an artifact. Any questions about that?
Can we trigger this now? I would like be eager to see it.
Yeah, sure. Let's give it a whirl.
And in the meantime, I can make one note. So that now also requires that the Keptn customer or Keptn user has Helm locally installed. Otherwise, he or she cannot install the Dynatrace SLI service.
Yes, that is a requirement now. Yeah,
and that's a requirement. Yeah, it is a requirement. We should simply state it that it's a requirement.
Exactly. Yeah. So the README has also been updated accordingly, and I've created a pull request for the tutorials where I've adapted those changes as well. So this one is currently in draft mode until we have actually released a version of that service where we use that Helm chart. All right, now our release draft action has been executed successfully. And now with a little bit of luck, yeah, here we have the release draft with the Helm chart asset.
Thank you for showing us this. Cool.
All right. Okay, that was that. And yeah, the next issue is quite similar. This is a Helm chart for the Dynatrace service. So currently we have those two different services which are going to be merged at some point in time, but currently they're separated. So currently that one is under review. But what is nice in that case is that previously we also had those plain Kubernetes manifests, but we had basically two different sets of configurations that were used for this service. So one that had all the configuration features enabled, so the features for setting up the problem notifications, the dashboard, the metric events, etc. And the other one with those features disabled. And we had to maintain those two very similar Kubernetes manifests. And now this configuration can also be steered using the Helm values that are provided in the Helm upgrade command. So that will make things a little bit easier. All right, and then, yeah, one final issue that I wanted to briefly show. So this one is about the Go utils. So here, Christian stumbled across a quite outdated function with the name get Keptn resource, which basically downloaded the resource specified in the input parameter from the configuration service, but also stored that resource in a file in the local file system, and yeah, and some other file IO stuff, such as deleting directories, and that's, yeah, not really the way to go. And actually it was that part of the function wasn't used anywhere, and therefore we have removed that IO part of the function and now simply return the resource content of the resource if it was retrieved successfully. All right, then I think I'm through with all my issues. Are there any questions about that last issue? All right, if not, I will hand over to Ermin.
Thank you very much. I plan to present one pull request today regarding Keptn's bridge. It's about a better sequence visualization when having more than one sequence in a stage. And actually, this also improves the sequence visualization when having only one sequence in a stage. You will see in a minute. So let's have a look at the issue. What the problem here was is in the case that yeah, you had multiple sequences in one stage configured. Yeah, it was just a list of tiles, and you couldn't tell which task was now part of the first sequence or of the second sequence, and so on. And you had also in between tiles about with meta data about the sequence itself, but it was, for example, not possible to get the payload of the first triggered event of the sequence itself in this old view. Now with the improvement, you see for each sequence tile in this sequences screen, and you can expand that one, and then you see all the tasks that have been executed in context of that sequence. And of course, it's a lot easier to show it in a live demo. So I will show it on a demo cluster here, where we have yeah, a configuration in the production stage, so in the prod stage, with 4 sequences. And here you can see we have delivery sequence, and then we have 3 canary phases, which are implemented as separate sequences. and they all have a release, test, evaluation, get SLI, and then an approval task. And as you can see now, yeah, you can have a look at the payload of the sequence triggered event itself. And of course, you also have the sequence finished, so the finished event of that sequence, and of course also of all the tasks in between. For example, the release task is actually in this case also handled by two services. So you have the started and the finished events of the services here with all the details. And yeah, one nice improvement we see also here is that the response, so the message here is now also rendered not only as a text, but also in the format that we get it. This was actually implemented by Klaus. But yeah, the main focus, the main thing that I wanted to show here is that you see now the sequences, especially in case when you have multiple sequences in one stage. I will just show also in staging the case. Here we have just one sequence, the delivery sequence itself, but still you see that that's the delivery sequence. You can have a look at the payload here, for example, and then you see also all the tasks that have been yeah, executed inside of that sequence. Yeah, are there any questions? If not,
just one question, but
or,
not
yep.
related to the feature. Evan, can you jump back?
Mm-hmm.
When I take a look at this particular sequence now, then I'm wondering, why is there an approval triggered compared to the others that just have the task name?
True. Here we obviously have still the translation active, which we got kind of rid of in the new bridge, but for the approvals, seems like it's still working. I don't know. We can have a look at that one as a separate issue, I guess.
Not a big deal, but it kind of jumps into your eyes that all the things, they have just one task name or just a task name.
It is different, yeah. True, yeah. Okay. Can change that one, of course, to make it streamlined. Yeah, cool. That's actually all I wanted to present today, and I'm handing over to Bernd.
Thank you. Okay, I've prepared 3 issues to show today. Let's start with that one. That's actually a bug discovered by Christian. There was an issue when running, for example, the Helm service on a remote execution plane, and he discovered that then parallel stages do actually not run in parallel but sequentially. And the first thought was it might be a problem with the Helm chart, but we took a deeper look into the issue, and the problem was then in the end in the distributor, which is also running in this situation remotely on the side by side with the Helm service. And the problem was just that in this setup, when running the Helm, the distributor remotely, it was sending out or forwarding the events sequentially, waiting for the service which is processing the event to finish, and then it will forward the next event. So that was changed in this pull request here. I also took the opportunity. So basically now also in this situation in the distributor, we are actually doing the event propagation in the background, and everything will work as expected when you're running the distributor on the control plane. I took also the opportunity to do a major cleanup of the service, because there were quite a lot of places which had outdated code and so on. I also took the time to do a bit more of unit testing here, and yeah, you can have a look. I think it's not worth to go into details. If there are no questions, I will directly jump to the next issue, which is this one, basic GitHub action. Let's take a look. So within our continuous integration or build pipeline, we often, or we will have the need to trigger sequences in the Keptn installation. Of course, you can do this in a variety of ways. One proposal here was to do it via a separate GitHub action, which can be extended in functionality over time. For now, this GitHub action should only be capable of sending arbitrary cloud events to a Keptn installation. And that was what I did. We can take a look at the repo. I hope I find it. Oops. Hello.
You stopped screen sharing now.
Okay, one moment. Okay, now. Come on. So, yeah, it's that one. The GitHub action is living in an own repository. Keptn GitHub actions and event. We also have another GitHub action. So the convention is Keptn GitHub action and what the action is actually responsible for. Here we are sending events. So this is the name of the GitHub repository. It's quite simple. The GitHub action takes 3 parameters: the Keptn API URL, for example, like this. So that's the endpoint of the event. So that's the URL of the event endpoint. It takes the Keptn API token, and of course the event you want to send. That's totally arbitrary. You can send any event you want. So you are not restricted to what you can send actually. Here's an example how to use it. Of course, this is up to the user how you want to trigger this GitHub action. Here's just an example which works on whenever a push happened, then we want to send an event, which looks here in the configuration like here, this step. We want to send event using this action here, of course, the GitHub action send event action, and we feed it with these parameters, which in this case come from GitHub secrets, but again, totally up to the user how you do it. So we have an API URL and token configured in the Git repository, and last but not least, of course, the event. So all of these 3 are mandatory input parameters, and here you just put your event as usual in JSON format that you want to send to the Keptn installation. Yeah, that's it. I don't know how this GitHub action will grow over time. There might become more features. For now, it's quite flexible what you can do. You just can send any kind of event to a Keptn installation, which will be the next step used in our pipeline. Question? Good, then I think there's one more. Yeah, Helm service related issue. So there was the need to extend a little bit the Helm service so that you can so that it can kind of extend or merge values more in a more flexible way. The logic of this merging is actually implemented in Helm service, which was done by Andreas. Thank you. And what I did is I was just doing the work around that. For example, changes in the CLI, because the CLI should also support this, and so on. We can take a look at that. So what's actually possible is now you can use this command here, Keptn trigger delivery, and feed it with a values flag, where you can say, okay, I want to change or add a field in the configuration change section of the cloud event. You give it in kind of a JSON dot notation. So you want to have the field shipyard controller image tag to have the value 082 blah blah blah. This will result in the send cloud event like this. It will just be translated to JSON and later on merged by the Helm service when it's doing its stuff. The pull request is already merged. As I said, Andreas implemented the feature in the Helm chart. So there's a value manipulator which has a merge function, which is doing the black magic to merge the values into the JSON. And all the other words around are refactorings and unit tests and changes in the CLI. That's it from my side.
Bernd, just a quick question, but
Yeah.
I assume a yes. The values, does it support a comma separated list of key value pairs?
Yes, it's either comma separated, so where's the, I think it's the one, it's either comma separated, or you can also give multiple values flags. It's also possible. So that's completely handled by the Cobra library we are using. It's a slice basically doing here. Yeah. Maybe I forgot to mention why this was not possible before. Before it was the case if you do something like shipyard controller dot, or just shipyard controller and some value, then everything beneath the shipyard controller level was overwritten. So you only had this value. Now we have a merge mechanism in place that actually the values are merged to the already existing stuff, which are probably in the already existing JSON things. Yeah, question?
Thank you for this. So I would have one request. Could you please tell Thomas Schutz about this feature that it's now available?
Yes, of course.
Waiting for this.
I will send him
Cool.
a message.
Thank you.
Good. Other than that, one moment. I can probably quickly show this one as well. So every time I'm working on an issue, I try to refactor things, and there are many places where we already have code duplication and so on. And so we've decided to do all the things we've identified. So we decided to make a common package in the Go utils, which is here. Let's yeah. So that's ongoing work now, but we now have a common package in Go utils, where you should actually put all your code which might get reused all over the places. For example, if we take a look at the file utils, which is now new, there's a function for reading a file as a string, for checking if a file exists, expanding the tilde, checking the user home directory, and so on. So currently there are utility functions for events, because all over the place we have the same code again and again, how you can create a cloud event. So now there will be now one central place which you can make use of to create events. We also have here HTTP utils, for example, I don't know, downloading a file, using a file downloader, checking if a URL is valid, and string utils, and so on. So if you see when implementing a new issue, when solving a new issue, if you see kind of duplications which might fit to this utils package here, just add it here, and I think we can get rid of a lot of duplications here and there if we are following this. Okay. Then who's after me? Klaus?
Okay. So, screen. Okay. So, hello. I'm basically I'm showing a few things I've done in the bridge. The first thing I will show is the SLI breakdown. There we had an overlay to show the target value if the criteria failed. This was lost in 0.80, and now we introduce it again. So yeah, when you have an evaluation and the criteria fails, now you can hover over the failed criteria and see the target value and yeah, why it failed, basically. And yeah, this was the first rather small thing I've implemented. Yeah, any questions to that? Then if there are none, then I will hand over to the next one to load older sequences. So basically, we said that we should be able to load more sequences, older ones, and this was not possible before. So now we can just simply click to show older sequences, and the next 10 sequences will be loaded. At first, 25 are loaded, and then with loading sequences, you can load 10 additional ones. And as you can see, also the filter for the sequences is refreshing if you load sequences that aren't there before. So like it's create and delete. Additionally, even reloading also works. So if you select something that's far away from 25 to a limit, you can also refresh, and this sequence is also loaded into the bridge. Just a moment. Okay, here we are. And all the sequences that are before this sequence, so yeah, everything before and after the 25 initially loaded are also fetched. And yeah, this is basically a feature. And if there are none sequences left, also this show all the sequences element disappears. And yes, that's that thing. And the last one is, yeah.
Can I jump in? When you go to the sequence screen and you click view sequence from a very old one,
Yes.
can we try it out? Let's go to this, to the services screen.
The services screen is not adjusted now to that because it's, yeah, it will change now in the future. That's why in services it does not proper work, I guess.
Okay, okay.
But you can see just the last sequence, and with that much also when I reload it or with the deep link itself, it's loading the selected sequence. So it doesn't matter if sequence or just a deep link.
Yeah, I tested it with the current service screen implementation, and since it uses a redirect to the deep link, the sequence is loaded correctly. But as Klaus said, the service screen will change anyway. So
yes, and we also have in future the deep link for a sequence screen, but it also this is the same as in the URL. So if you reload it, it's the same as if you click on a deep link. So this will work. And yes, any questions to that?
Can you go back to the bridge one moment?
Yes.
I have a rather general question, which is not so important, but what's going on with the colors here? Because where does this cyan color comes from? It's doesn't fit so nice with the bluish things. No,
so
at the top, for example. At the top,
it's
for
about
example,
the notification on the top.
On the top, or the button, or the thing. Is this because it's reminding me of the Dynatrace UI look and feel? Is it because of that? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we
we also have an issue to adjust this. So
maybe we should rethink it because it kind of looked weird together with the blue.
Yes.
But it's just.
We already have an issue to change it.
Okay.
Yeah, but not the coloring, especially if you have the show all the sequences button on the left bottom, the reload button on the right, and also the notification bar on top. That are all components from the Barista components library. And actually, we haven't considered changing the colors there. The only color that we introduced is in the navigation bar on the top, where you have Keptn and the project selector. And there we have this blue color, which represents the blue, the Keptn blue, so our color that we use for the Keptn project.
Yeah, that's I'm used to the Keptn blue and see this cyan thing here all over the place.
Yeah, when having it in the buttons and so it's not that eye-catching, but in case of the notification bar, yeah, it's too obvious, and maybe we consider changing the color there.
Okay. One thing maybe to mention, we also introduced a new parameter for loading all the sequences, and we just have a before time parameter to load sequences before that time. Okay. So any questions?
Yeah, I also would have a question to this banner. Why do I see the message 2 times?
Yeah, it's because this will also be adjusted because it's for Keptn Core and for the bridge. These are 2 separate things.
Okay.
But as Klaus mentioned, in the issue that addresses this banner, we want to merge them into one line so that you get just one notification when there is an update available.
Cool.
Okay.
These buttons here in or these components right at the right of, for example, delivery direct, the first thing here.
Yes.
Yeah, this one. Those remind me a little bit on those buttons on the iOS interface where you can swipe to the left and activate it or something like that.
That's how easy it is to deliver new software with
Yes.
Keptn.
So yeah. But it's no problem, of course. Just reminds me of such a button.
Okay. So, and okay, then I will hand over to the last one, which Ermin already mentioned. It's just a visualization of the text for specific messages. And this was just a simple change to from a paragraph tag to a pre-formatted text tag. And that's it. Yeah, I don't really have an example with such a formatted text, but I mean, also already showed one, so I guess that's okay.
I have just to add one thing here that popped up. Actually, Elizabeth saw it during my presentation. I think we have an encoding issue there. And also, if you have a look at the screenshot, you can
Yes.
see it.
The questions,
Okay.
question mark are still here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This wrong encoding.
Yeah, actually,
Characters.
some characters are not rendered correctly. Those are check marks, but yeah,
Okay.
currently in the bridge you see question marks. Maybe there is something with the encoding.
Yeah, or with the font or something.
Or it's the font, could be also. Yeah, we could check on that. I will create a follow-up issue.
Okay.
Could be a rather small thing.
It's already a huge improvement like it is.
Yes. From that to that. But okay, that's it from my side.
All right, then let me finally share the screen. But there are actually no items left, meaning that we are through with the official part. Have still a couple of minutes left for getting questions and answers. Is there a question that came up during this feature presentation? Let me just check the chat window. No, it's empty. Someone from the participants that are listening? Also no question came up. Then I think we we can close it for today. Really cool which progress had been made. With all the features and enhancements in the last weeks. Really great progress. Awesome. Okay, then let's close it for today. Thanks for joining in. See you next time at the same time. But next week we invite the community to join in and also to ask questions and to tell us or to show us their pull requests and features they are working on. Then a week then after, we will again see which features have been implemented from the core team. All right, then I wish you a nice day. See you the next week and be safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.